Hello and welcome to the EIC Clearly podcast. EIC Clearly? See what I did there? This is the podcast that brings you in-depth discussions with energy, policy and thought leaders on the most critical issues, trends and innovations shaping the global energy supply chain. Hi everybody, it's Stuart Broadley here again with the latest episode of EIC Clearly podcast. I am so privileged today to welcome Dr. Hazland. His full title is the Honourable Dr. Hazland Abang Hipni. He is the Deputy Minister of MEESTY, which stands for the Ministry of Energy and Environmental Sustainability for Sarawak, which is the major energy centre of Malaysia. Welcome, Dr. Hazland.
Thank you, Stuart, for inviting me to your podcast today.
It's an honor to have you here, and you've built a delegation here to the Energy Exports Conference.
We flew all the way from Sarawak, It's about 12,000 kilometers away.
Thank you so much for doing that. And the Energy Exports Conference has hopefully been a very beneficial couple of days for you.
Oh, yes. We have met a lot of people, and we've had a lot of meetings, networking, and, of course, our speeches and...
Everybody knows your key messages now.
Messages, yeah.
So just for those listening in who may not know much about Dr. Hazland, some interesting kind of fun facts about you. You bring 30 years of experience as a dedicated medical professional and private practitioner, but your political career does span back to 1991, reflecting, of course, your decades of service to your community. Notably, you once described your political journey as net zero, and this is probably before net zero even was what it means now, and it's underscoring your deep passion for steering Sarawak towards carbon neutrality by 2050. Under your stewardship, Sarawak's success in the National Greening Malaysia campaign, where the state planted 35 million trees, which surpassed your target a year early. You demonstrated a strong commitment to forest conservation and carbon sequestration. This effort protects Sarawak's vast rainforests, which cover 62% of the state, contributes significantly to Malaysia's overall environmental health. And you have spearheaded groundbreaking microalgae projects to support Sarawak's green economy as well. And in 2023, this effort led to the launch of Malaysia's first industrial-scale microalgae carbon capture facility at the Sejing Cat power plant, where flue gas is used to enhance algae growth on a 5-hectare site. So just a little flavour of what clearly runs through your veins is a passion for sustainability. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast. We're recording here in Aberdeen on a sunny day.
Yeah. Beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. So let's start with the green energy transition and vision. So you positioned yourself and you positioned Sarawak now as a leader in the green transition, targeting net zero emissions by 2050. Could you share how and when this vision for a clean energy future first took shape and what inspired Sarawak to embark on this journey?
In fact, the whole idea started quite some time ago, even before the 80s, because of the fact that Sarawak is blessed with a lot of natural resources, especially our land mass, which is huge. It's almost equivalent to the size of England, and 62% of that land mass is covered by forests, mangrove peat, and also blue carbon in the ocean. And we have calculated the carbon sink to be about at least 1 billion tons. So you can imagine the opportunity and the potential revenue from carbon trading and so on. To mitigate climate change, basically it can be done in two ways. One is through the nature-based solution, which we have, and the other is through the technical-based solution, which we also have. And Sarawak is also blessed with a lot of rivers. We have about 300 over rivers, and on the huge rivers, we have developed our hydroelectric dams. The 4 dams are producing at the moment about 3,800 megawatts, and the rest are powered by coal and also fossil. We're also blessed with a lot of sunshine, so we can go into solar. And at the moment, we are venturing into the hydrogen technology, and we are going to have 2 huge hydrogen plants in the next 4 to 5 years in Bintulu, Sarawak, with the Japanese and the Koreans. And also we have developed our methanol plant in Bintulu, which is already exporting about 5,000 tons per day to China. And we still keep on exploring oil and gas because we have a lot of gas reserves in Sarawak. And also LNG is a transitional fuel. The other potential is on the carbon capture, usage and storage, because Sarawak has been drilling oil for the last 100 over years. And so we have about 1,600 depleted oil wells, which can be used to store carbon, especially transboundary carbon from Japan, Korea, and Singapore. This is a new revenue for Sarawak. Not only we can mitigate climate change, but also we can create new revenues. All this is possible because of our leadership. At the moment, our leader is the Right Honourable Premier of Sarawak, Tan Sri Petinggi, Dr. Petinggi Abang Zohari, who has a deep passion in all these green initiatives and also to create new revenues, which will actually increase our overall GDP for Sarawak.
I've met the Premier and it's quite inspiring, isn't it? His vision and understanding of what the various elements are to create true green economic prosperity as well. What do you think has been the most significant milestone Sarawak has achieved so far in its green transition? And then what next for net zero?
In fact, our ministry was formed only about 3 years ago, especially to look into the energy and also the environmental sustainability issues. And the first few steps that we made before we embark in any of those green initiatives is to prepare the basic frameworks, which are actually 4. Number 1 is the legal framework, which includes all the ordinances, the laws, the regulations, certification, verification, so that everything is done in the proper manner and in accordance to international standards. And this will increase the confidence of investors. The second framework, which we have prepared, is the technical framework. This is not that difficult because even in 1985, we have constructed our first hydroelectric dam. So that means we are capable. And also, if we do not have the current technologies, we can always partner with the technical partners. So it can be done quite easily, as shown by our hydrogen plants, whereby we are partnering with the Japanese and also the Koreans. The third framework is the financial and business framework. This is still quite challenging, and certain countries have got programs whereby they offer outright grants for the new industries, like Japan and Korea. They are offering outright grants to set up the hydrogen plants. And the fourth framework is the human resource and talent development framework. This one, we are looking into it, and we have started training our boys and girls, especially to be the technicians in the hydrogen industry, in the autonomous rapid transport, which is powered by hydrogen. And we also have developed a new course in one of our universities, which is called the Bachelor of Energy Engineering.
It's amazing how fast Sarawak is moving in the green energy space. I guess you're overtaking progress in other Malaysian states, even progress across the ASEAN. Is it leadership and vision that's key to this?
Yeah, it's leadership, vision, also the available natural resources, which has been there for hundreds of years and has not been capitalized and monetized. And we are able to visualize all this.
As I've been working with you over the last few months, but particularly over the last 2 days, I've learned how there's a real purpose to this. It's not just to do the right thing, but it's also to create economic prosperity for Sarawak. So talk us through this economic prosperity ambition and how quickly and realistic that is in terms of the growth generated from this.
Actually, we can do it in the next 4 to 5 years. By 2030, if we follow all our strategies closely, we are able to increase our GDP to about 50 billion pounds from the current 25 billion pounds.
And you have someone in your delegation who is actually the finance person responsible for energy. So you have a dedicated person in your senior team who tracks this and assesses the financial consequences and viabilities and requirements to achieve this prosperity. I was sort of reflecting on that, thinking, in the UK, do we have one person who actually has the same job, who just looks at overall at energy and says which ones are economically viable, which sectors create economic prosperity? And I don't think we do. That must help you, Tom. I'll take that idea away straight away. Obviously, there's a lot you're talking about in terms of vision and all these projects and a role for all sectors, and it's quite incredible the things you're doing, but can't all be easy. So where are the challenges you're facing as you're on this journey?
Basically, there are three challenges. Number one would be the investor preference. Because now, at the moment, most of the industries are based on oil and gas. So it is not that easy for them to transition into renewable energy. The second challenge is the investment cost. The investment is still quite high, especially on the hydrogen pricing. We still need to reduce our cost of production of hydrogen through technology, through the improvement of the electrolyzers, to increase the efficiency and so on. And Sarawak has got this special assembly plant whereby we design our own electrolyzers by our own local scientists, and they send it over to China to construct and assemble back in Sarawak. And we are able to reduce the amount of energy to produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen from the normal 60 kilowatt hour. Now we can produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen with only 33 kilowatt hours of energy.
Let's then talk about ASEAN. Malaysia is this year the chair of the ASEAN Council, and I think a big part of the Sustainable Energy Hub approach is to see ASEAN as part of the solution to generate the ultimate green solution. Talk us through the Sarawak and then broader Malaysia and then across ASEAN and how you're approaching that.
I think there are two major issues. Number one is the ASEAN Green Plan, which actually has been there for the last 2 decades. So Sarawak is taking up the first step, whereby in 2016, we have been selling power to Indonesia, Kalimantan, of about 100 megawatts per year. And now we're going to sell about 50 to 500 megawatts to Brunei, our neighbor. And next will be to the southern Philippines. And finally to Singapore of about 1,000 megawatts through the undersea cable, which will be completed and executed in about 7 years' time. And the other issue for ASEAN is to agree on the creation of our own emission trading system, which will affect the price of carbon and carbon credits. And at the moment, we do not have a system in ASEAN. So we are only trading by using the VCM method, which is the voluntary carbon market, which only offers about 30% of the actual price of carbon in the world.
Are you a believer that you need wider regional structured collaboration to deliver the better outcomes for security and for resilience? That makes sense to you, yeah? But it's not so easy to deliver a wider regional solution, though, is it? So how do you balance? The goal is to work together as the ASEAN, but everybody has the differing goals as well, right?
We are not only just looking at ASEAN, we are looking also at Asia Pacific, because they have got very good systems in New Zealand and Australia. And also we are going to Europe, and even Eastern Europe, and even America. We are friends and collaborators with anybody, not only from the eastern part of the world, but also the western part of the world, because Sarawak believes to achieve net zero by 2050, we need to partner and to collaborate and not to compete, actually.
It feels like there's a kind of the rise of the East right now, and obviously Sarawak wants to be central to that.
Exactly.
And what does it feel like being in this time now in our history where the East is rising so fast in terms of the rise of China, who are so dominant, aren't they, now as an energy player? And yet, as you say, your goal is to work with everybody. How do you balance that?
Now we are in exciting times, and we are also exploring into uncharted waters. So we believe that to achieve those goals, we must collaborate. We must not compete. We must share our knowledge, expertise, technology, and even our finances.
Hydropower. It's a major strength, and we've got Sarawak Energy here with you in your delegation who run the hydropower development program. How do you balance large-scale hydropower development with environmental stewardship and social sustainability?
That is part of the whole blueprint and roadmap that we have drafted for guidance for all projects involving hydropower. At the moment, we are reducing on the huge dams, and we are focusing more on floating solar on those dams, and also on run of the river or what we call it cascading dam. These are environmentally friendly, and that should be the way. And our potential is huge. For hydro is another 20 giga, and for floating solar, at least about 30 giga.
Biomass is another one of your key energy targets, and it seems to provide great potential for sustainable power generation. How is Sarawak leveraging its biomass resources? And I guess there comes challenges there, right? And do you have enough resource, and how are you maximizing the scale-up opportunity?
Actually, Sarawak is blessed with having at least 5 biomass. One is microalgae, which we are cultivating. And as you know, it can produce biodiesel and SAF. And even the Japanese are producing pharmaceutical products and cosmetic products from microalgae. The second biomass is wood, which can convert to wood pellets or biochar, which can produce energy. And the third would be bamboo, which can be converted to pellets and biochar. And the fourth is elephant grass, which can also be converted to energy. And the last would be palm oil waste, which also can be converted to energy.
Amazing. I think a lot of companies that are in the SAF biomass space struggle with feedstock. Doesn't sound like you're going to struggle with feedstock. So it's a major export opportunity for you.
We can cultivate because we have huge land for the microalgae farm, and we have the correct amount of sunlight, a very good climate, and we have our own species actually. It is our own local species. We have 6 species producing different types of biofuel out of 600 species.
Let's talk about another major export opportunity, which is hydrogen. So your strategic priorities for developing both green and blue hydrogen are making progress. So how do you envision Sarawak's establishing itself as a regional hub for hydrogen?
Actually, for hydrogen, before we accept any proposals, we must make sure that there are confirmed off-takers for the hydrogen. Because as you know, Sarawak has a population of only 3 million, and we do not have a lot of heavy industries. So our usage will be quite low. So, for example, the Japanese and Koreans, they will take back 90% of the hydrogen, and they are producing about 100,000 tons per year, and only 10% is only going to be used in Sarawak. So that will be the business model. 90% will be exported back, and only about 10% will be used in Sarawak.
You see major technical challenges and scale-up challenges with hydrogen in Sarawak, or is it just about you just need the demand?
Actually, there's no technical issues because the technology is from the investor themselves. Like, for example, Sumitomo and Ineos have got their own technology. Samsung have their own technology.
These are already committed.
It's already committed, And what Sarawak is doing is only to provide the land area, the space for the plants, the green hydropower, the low tariff, the competitive workforce, the port facilities, and the natural location of Sarawak, which is centrally located and very, very accessible to those Japanese and Koreans and also even the Singaporean.
So Sarawak has launched one of the world's largest offshore CCS projects and aims to develop multiple storage sites by 2030. So ambitious targets. How critical is CCS to Sarawak's net zero ambitions, and how important are international partnerships in that?
For CCS, we are blessed also with the amount of depleted oil wells that we have. Sarawak, as you know, has been drilling oil since 1910. So until now, we have about 1,600 depleted oil wells, and about 1,200 of those wells are offshore. So we have a natural storage space with a potential of about 9 billion tons, just only from the depleted oil wells. We also have got the natural space from the aqueous saline aquifers. We haven't calculated, but that could be another 5 to 10 times bigger than the depleted oil wells. But we will start with the depleted oil wells first. And our first project is actually next year. The first injection will be by Petronas and Petros. Petronas is our national oil company. Petros is Sarawak's oil company. And all the depleted oil wells are owned by Petros and managed by Petros, which is under our constitution.
SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. We all know, I think, that there's global demand, huge exponential growth for SAF driven by regulatory requirements now. So what's the role of Sarawak with this? You're developing an airline and an airport infrastructure. There is a domestic opportunity, but again, it's a huge export opportunity. So how does SAF fit into this?
As I mentioned, we have our own natural species, 6 species of microalgae, which can produce biodiesel and SAF. And we have the huge land to set up our microalgae farm. And as you know, this species is quite easy to cultivate. It only needs sunlight, seawater, and also it will double in 3 days. So 1 kilogram of microalgae will become 2 kilograms in 3 days. So that's why we can produce about 500 barrels of SAF per month from about 1,000 acres.
And this is one of your personal projects that you really care about, isn't it? And that's one of the things I would say as we kind of keep going through all the things we want to talk about. I'm getting to know you. You're so passionate and knowledgeable. I work with ministers all over the world, but you really seem to care about it, but also so much detailed knowledge in all of these different technologies. Where does this come from, this passion and deep knowledge?
Actually, I've been interested in the environment since school days, So I think it's just a natural phenomena that when I'm tasked and appointed as the Deputy Minister of Energy and Environmental Sustainability, I learned a lot, especially in my first year in office. I tried to attend as many conferences and seminars all over the world on all subjects, on hydropower, solar, floating solar, carbon trading, hydrogen, methanol, CCUS, LNG, and even nuclear energy.
Nuclear's on the table?
For the future.
For the future.
Yeah.
Let's now talk about how all of these different energy technologies that you're prioritizing needs a workforce and needs a supply chain. This could be the thing that's the most difficult thing to deliver. So talk us through how you're going to make sure that the skills and the investment and the technology is going to be there for you.
That's why we have started our training, talent development training, and we have 5 universities to do that. We are collaborating with the industries and with the trainers and so on. For example, our autonomous rapid transport, the training is done by the supplier of the vehicles from China. It's a 3-year certificate course so that we have enough technicians to maintain the public transport system, which is powered by hydrogen.
The supply chain more broadly, what's your mechanism to encouraging companies to participate in all of these different projects?
We are able to provide with the requirements to start off. For example, our huge landmass, and we have a dedicated zone, quite similar to your ETZ here in Scotland. And also we have competitive hydropower with a low tariff, and we have the workforce, we have the port facilities. We also have some special tax reductions, and the natural location of Sarawak, which is quite centralized in the ASEAN region, is within 6 hours of Japan, Korea.
It's a competitive world out there, isn't it, though? And you need to ensure that the people and the supply chain comes and stays, is resilient to the fluctuations of, whatever the future brings. So what do you see as the key to ensuring the supply chain and the investors come and stay?
So many variables and so on. But the key would be our commitment and our drive to monetize and capitalize on whatever natural resources that we have been blessed with. So it will not be very smart of us if we do not capitalize on all those natural resources.
Yes, and that's what I would say is your vision, and the vision that comes from the Premier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's genuine and it's long term, and it comes from the whole team. There's 15 of you that have come on this delegation. Everybody has a shared vision. The language is the same from everybody about this vision. Very rare to see that when I talk to other countries and their plans. It's never as well presented by everybody in a consistent way, in a passionate way. So it really comes across very strongly. Another thing you're looking for is, of course, international partners and collaboration. As you say, you're open to work with anybody in the world that has something they can bring to the table for Sarawak. You've intensified your collaboration with the UK and Scotland in the energy sector. What are the key objectives of your partnerships when working with the UK and Scotland?
Yeah, I think it's more on technology, because we want a mix of technology, not only from the east, but also from the west. In fact, we started with our first pilot project for the hydrogen plant with Linde. That was about at least 7 or 8 years ago in Sarawak. And also other companies like Siemens, and a few other big companies, SLB.
And are there specific technologies right now you're looking for?
Yeah. For hydrogen hub, CCUS hub, renewable energy hub.
In terms of advantages and deliverables that you need from international players coming in and investing in the region, is it capacity that you want to be built, or is it money that you want to be brought in? Is it know-how, or is it all of the above?
It's all the above. Yeah, it's a combination of all those, because we need all those capabilities, financial resources, and especially if the government of that country has a program to assist green initiatives, that would be very, very good. Example, the Japanese and Koreans, they are offering outright grants to start off any green initiatives, green industries outside the country.
Dr. Hazland, thank you so much, firstly, for your openness and your generosity of time. Beyond policies and projects and the concept of net zero, you're clearly very inspired and inspiring to be around. But where does your personal inspiration come from?
I think for me it's the last SDG, which is SDG number 17, which says that partnership to achieve the goals. Meaning that to achieve the goal of net zero by 2050, everybody must collaborate, must work together, must partner, and as far as possible, not to copy. And this is very, very important, not only to develop the green initiative industry, but also it will finally save the world and the planet for the future generation.
Thank you so much. Throughout this 2 days with us, you have and your whole team have been totally open and honest. It's been a delight to talk to you today.
Same to me.
Safe travels when you go back tomorrow. So you've been listening to the latest EIC Clearly podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. That is a special discussion we've had today with Dr. Hazland, who's the Deputy Minister in the MEESTY, the Ministry of Energy and Environmental Sustainability for Sarawak, key part of Malaysian energy infrastructure. Thank you again, Dr. Hazland. Thanks for listening to this EIC Clearly podcast. Follow the EIC podcast platform in order to be notified when new podcasts are published. If you want to be an EIC member or to learn more about the work we do, please go to www.the-eic.com.